morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be answering a question, at least trying to answer a question, that I've been asked a lot since yesterday. And the question I keep being asked over and over again, and I like questions, keep them coming. What's going to happen to the rotation? Now, to take a step back, yesterday it was announced that the 2020 Pokemon season is over. Well, it's being suspended, Worlds has been cancelled, North American Internationals has been cancelled, and although they haven't said there won't be any more events this season, they have been cancelled until further notice. Let's just say it's something we can pretty much rely on, that we're not going to have any more events this year. Okay, fair enough. But what about the rotation? You see, what usually happens is once a year, a bunch of Pokemon TCG sets are no longer legal and they're taken out of rotation. You can still play them in Expanded, but not in Standard. And I told you that the rotation was overwhelmingly likely to be Team Up On this year. I've done a whole video about it, I'll link it in the description, but I feel extremely confident that that's going to be the way. It would basically leave all the tag team sets intact, getting rid of everything beforehand, and rotating 4 sets, and Pokemon release 4 sets a year, and aim to rotate 4 sets a year. It would leave weird things like we would have 4 Prison Stars still remaining like Tapu Koko, while the rest of them rotated, but generally speaking it would make perfect sense. And the question that I had was, is that rotation going to happen before Worlds, like it did last year, or is it going to happen after Worlds, like it usually did? And we didn't have an answer. Well, now it's going to be September the 1st. If there is a rotation, it's going to be September the 1st. There is no reason to rotate early. The reason to rotate early would have been to basically make sure that we had a more interesting format for Worlds, but without Worlds, there's absolutely no reason to rotate early, so if there's a rotation, it will be September the 1st. The thing is, an awful lot of people are saying, well, hang on a second, are we even going to have a rotation? And my answer is yes. Now, I do not have any inside information. I do not know. We have no idea. But it seems fairly obvious to me that we do need a rotation. That's not to say that there will be a rotation. This is merely a prediction. But I believe we absolutely will have a rotation. And as I've said, that rotation will therefore be Team Up On. Because we need to have a Sword and Shield on rotation in 2021. And then we can get back to the question of whether that's going to happen before Worlds or after Worlds. I'll leave that one up to you, lovely ladies and gentlemen. But we need to be having a rotation to Team Up On this year. Now, one question I've had from a few people is, well, hang on a second. Has there ever been a year where we didn't have a rotation? The answer is yes, and right now I can pull up this lovely little list from Bulbapedia, good website for research, and it shows us quite nicely. Now, there is a red herring on there. In 2011, it looks like we didn't have a rotation, because in 2011 and 2012, it was Heart Gold, Soul Silver on. That's not actually true. What happened is that in 2011, we actually rotated early, after UK Nationals, but before US Nationals, so the rotation happened a couple of months earlier than usual. And the reason basically was very simply because of Sableye. We had the black and white rules that basically let you do whatever you wanted going first, and then we had Sableye that guaranteed that you went first, and we had just ridiculous, and there was a Sable Donk deck and all of that. Again, I'll link the Sableye deck in the description, but with the black and white rules, Sableye broke the format, it broke the entire game. So for that reason, we had an early rotation of Heart Gold, Soul Silver on. There was a rotation in 2011. But there wasn't a rotation in 2009. In 2009, we had Diamond and Pearl on, and in 2010, we had Diamond and Pearl on. Oh, cool. And now I can't tell you exactly why this is. I don't work for Pokemon, etc. But my reasoning for this is very simple. We had a really good format back then. Back then we had Claydol and Uxie that basically combined to make just about the most consistent format we've basically ever seen. I mean, the example I always give about this is the second place Worlds list run by Michael Pramawat literally had a 1-0-1 Machamp line because you could rely on getting your one Machop Rare Candy Machamp even though you were playing a Gardevoir deck. It was a little bit silly, but that's how ridiculous the format was. And we had quite a varied format. We had Gardevoir, we had Machamp, we had Gyarados, we had Gengar. We had a lot of different decks, and obviously we had the SP stuff with Luxray and all. We had a very good, healthy format around the Diamond and Pearl era, so we weren't in a huge hurry to get rid of it. Life was fine. But that's the only time we've ever not had a rotation. Every other year there's been a rotation. I think there will be this year. Now, as it stands, there are no tournaments for now. I believe that the next tournaments we will see will be the pre-releases for the third Sword and Shield expansion. Not Rebel Clash. It has already been confirmed that Rebel Clash will not have pre-releases. You'll still be able to buy the build and battle kits and have your own pre-releases. I'm thinking of doing one over Skype. Let me know if that sounds like fun. But we're not actually going to be able to have a proper pre-release for that. But the next set we should. But every other tournament is cancelled for now. And I believe what they're going to do is just go to a team-up on format in September and roll from there. And there's reasons for and against. The reason to not have rotation is we're going to save formats. Our Ultra Prism to Sword and Shield format has actually been cut short. We have not had the kind of tournaments we should have had. The European International Championships should have happened in that format, but it didn't. I was supposed to go to Liverpool Regionals in that format, but I'm not. Hey ho, sad face. But the Ultra Prism to Rebel Clash format won't ever exist. We will never have the Ultra Prism to Rebel Clash format unless they restart tournaments before the new set drops in August, which they've just cancelled Worlds, right? I refuse to believe that's going to happen. So we will never see the Ultra Prism to Rebel Clash format if we don't rotate. And of course, it gives players a chance to use their cards. Because at the moment, we've all got cards from Ultra Prism through to Lost Thunder. And they're all going to rotate out, and we might never have a chance to use them. And yes, I speak as someone who has been buying cards to potentially use in decks in Liverpool, which was going to be, this kind of format. And now those cards are going to rotate out, and I'm never going to have a chance to play them in Standard, though again, they will still be legal in Expanded. And if we don't have a rotation, it is going to encourage more cards to be sold. Pokemon is a business at the end of the day, because more people are going to be buying those expansions because they're not rotating out. Although it is worth mentioning here that the vast majority of Pokemon TCG sales are actually made to children and non-competitive players who aren't looking to go and get the best card. They're looking to get some awesome Pokemon cards. So that's why we shouldn't rotate. Why should we rotate? Keeps things on track. Keeps things normal. It keeps to what we're supposed to be doing. It also gives a smaller card pool, and for newer players, a smaller card pool is awesome. It makes it less complicated, and it makes it easier to get the cards. Otherwise, Ultra Prism actually released quite a while ago at this stage. Ultra Prism came out in February 2018, which means that some people are going to be playing like 3 years after it's out, and that's going to be awkward to try and get hold of those cards. It is a problem we've seen in Expanded, although there's no way of solving it in Expanded. The whole point of it is it's an expanded format. But it's also going to bring up potential issues. So, take something like the new Luxray. It's coming out as a pre-release promo. I showed you that one yesterday. And the thing about Luxray is that It's a decent card. It does 160 for a single energy if it evolved from Luxio this turn. Okay, sounds like fun. The thing is, we've actually got the Luxio, which has got that new ability, whereby if you draw it as your card for the turn, as in it's the first thing you draw on your turn, then you actually get to just play it down as a stage 1. But we've also got the Shinx, which came around a while ago now, which should be rotating. It's from Ultra Prism, which lets you evolve going second on your first turn. And we're not supposed to have the Shinx and the Luxio for a long period of time in the format together. Is Luxio going to be some ridiculously broken card? No, I don't know what's going to be released, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what's going to be released in the future. But it's going to lead to some broken combos that were never supposed to happen because of the rotation. I mean, if you just look at a couple of individual cards, Diancie Prism Star lets all of your fighting Pokemon do an extra 20 damage, but it's supposed to rotate out in August or September. If we don't rotate it, you know there's going to be 1 or 2 fighting cards released in the next year that actually now just hit enough damage because of Diancie. Or something like, I mean, Tapu Koko is supposed to survive the rotation, but Thunder Mountain isn't. Tapu Koko lets you accelerate 2 lightning energy, 1 to each of 2 bench Pokemon, and Thunder Mountain reduces the attack cost of your lightning Pokemon by 1 lightning energy. And the pair of them can combine so something like Pikachu and Zekrom can attack in 1 turn. Attach an energy normally, attach 1 with Tapu Koko, play Thunder Mountain Prism Star, boom, free energy, off you go. The problem is we're not supposed to have that option past September. So now the format is going to be warped because Pikachu and Zekrom should be taking a massive hit. You can still get the turn 1, but you need Tapu Koko and you need a second bench Pokemon to put the second energy on, and then you need an energy switch. Still possible. But now, instead of needing Tapu Koko and either a Thunder Mountain or a second bench Pokemon and an energy switch, you've got to have that second bench Pokemon to put the energy on and an energy switch, which really hurts Lightning decks, except it won't anymore. And I think that's the biggest reason why we need to have a rotation and why I think we will have a rotation. Because if we don't, we're going to end up with interactions that we shouldn't have, and it's going to be harder for newer players coming in. Plus, it means that we're going to end up having a giant rotation next year, where we pretty much have to rotate to Sword and Shield on next year. So we're going to end up with just some ridiculous amount of sets rotated. And yes, I know we did that in 2010 when we rotated the entirety of the Diamond and Pearl block, which was 11 expansions. But those giant rotations can be very, very harsh for newer players, for casual players. It's a lot to get rid of in one go. And I could be wrong. Like I said, I have no insider information here. I've laid out the reasons why we should and the reasons why we shouldn't. I've made my argument why I don't think we'll have a rotation. But at the end of the day, all this is a prediction and an opinion. And I would be very excited to know where you come down on this. I want to know your prediction. I want to know your opinion. I want to know if you think we're going to have a rotation or whether you think they're going to keep it going. I know that an early rotation means we're going to have a bunch of unplayable cards and we're going to be missing a big chunk and we're going to be missing an entire format. Although, to be fair, Ultra Prism to Rebel Clash still won't happen because I think by the time tournaments come back, we'll have Sword and Shield free. But I just think for ease of use, for newer players, for keeping going and for stopping silly interactions, you need to happen. And here's the thing, right? If we don't rotate, a bunch of people are going to be furious when we have these interactions that should never have happened. We should have rotated. This would never have happened if we'd rotated. And if we do rotate, a bunch of people are going to be furious that they've bought a bunch of cards that they're now not able to play in these tournaments, and that's a waste of money and it's unfair. No matter what happens, people are going to be furious. but I've laid out the arguments, and now it's time I heard from you. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, or you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.